Now with the 5-minute arrowdite, you just want to pull back on it just to make it a little bit easier to push forward. Have 2 equal amounts of each side. Squeeze them out like that. Then what you need to do is mix them for until the actual arrowdite goes clear. You'll watch it's a milky kind of look as I mix it, and eventually it will start to turn into a clear see-through kind of consistency, and that means it's about time to apply it to the car. Okay, so here now I've been mixing it and it's about to turn clear. And the best thing about this is, once it's on the car and if you want to get it off, you just stick a razor blade like a knife under it and just give it a twist and it just pops off and it doesn't destroy your pod like super glue does. Okay, so now that's going clear right now. So now that's at a good point and you've only got a few minutes to do it, so you need to be kind of quick, but not, it still gives you a fair bit of time to get it done. So what I do is take a decent amount and run it all the way down the side here. It's still quite easy to flow at the moment. It'll get harder as it starts to go off more. But just get it in everywhere and it will make the car much smoother to drive. So that's a quick example so far of what I do, and I'll come back and I'll show you the finished job. Now, one really important thing that not a lot of people do is work out the depth of the lane on the track where they race. So this is pretty important because your guide depth can give you more or less power if it's too deep, or it can make your car come out a lot easier if it's not deep enough. So I always take my verniers to any track I go to and I put it in the lane and I test the depth. And this one here is about 7.8. So now I know what depth I can choose for my guide, and I'll show you how I do that in the next one. Now, one of the most simple tools that I take to every track and I always leave in my slot car box is a silver or white paint pen and a black texter. Now what these are for is I always put it on the bottom of my guide. So when I race on a track, if the paint starts to wear off the guide, I know my guide's too deep in the lane. So as well as having the verniers to check the depth, this also gives me a good idea of how deep the guide is running in the slot. So as you'll see on an NSR one, because it's white, I do it black, and on a black one I do it either with white or silver. So that is one very important thing to take with you to the track, because if it's too deep in the lane, your braid won't be sitting nicely and it will cost you power. Here I have a slot.it Porsche which I'm going to use to demonstrate why cars sometimes brake out to the left or right under brakes. 90% of the time it's the front axle and front wheels aren't set correctly. So if one wheel touches more on one side than the other, it will make the car brake out to either the left or the right depending on which front is touching. I will demonstrate with this car now. And the fastest way to solve that is to set your front ride height correctly. Or what I'll do now is I will remove the front tyres and demonstrate it without them, just to show how easy a fix it is. So now the car's ready to do a lap, and I've removed the front wheels. So now you can see by not having one of the fronts grab, it will brake in a straight line. So this is just a quick fix and a way of showing you why it actually makes the car brake out and how you can go about fixing it. So I'm not saying remove your front wheels, but just set them to the correct height. Anytime I glue a tyre onto a rim, I always give the rim a clean. Now, sometimes there may be some oils from when they were made or when they were cut. So what I do is I get a cloth, put some methylated spirits on it, and I go over where I glue the tyre to the rim. So I make sure if there is anything there, that it's not there when I go to glue my tyre on. Now, the other thing some people do is you can possibly get some sandpaper, put this in your tyre truer and spin it and slightly roughen up the edge where you're going to glue it. It just helps keep the tyre to the rim. I do it on some cars, mainly on 24 scale, not so much on my 32, but it is another option if you're racing and you don't want your tyre to come off your rim. Whenever I stick a new tyre on a rim, one thing I always do is get the tyre and turn it inside out just to check that there's no little bits of mould inside here that shouldn't be there, and something that will make the wheel and tyre be out of round. So that's something you always should look to check for. It's also nice to make sure it's clean. I'll sometimes give it a bit of a going over with some methylated spirits again or something. But once the tyre's fine like that, I'm happy to put it on my rim. I choose this NSR 5004 rim on quite a few of my cars because it's got quite a large rim, and it allows the wheel insert to fit back in there. These ones here come pretty close. They might just need a little bit of sanding to get them to fit, but they're good for that reason. And they're a nice air rim, and the MJK tyre fits on the rim extremely nicely. So I'll show you that now. What you want to do is when you put your tyre on, make sure it's not being stretched too much. The more you stretch it, the more the actual rubber or the urethane in this case will stretch, and it'll give you less grip. So that is on there, and as you can see, that's not gone snap on there. It's on there really nicely. So it's almost like when you think of a rubber band. When you stretch a rubber band, the more you stretch it, the less soft it gets, and it's the same with a tyre. So it's important to find a tyre that suits a certain rim and not just stick any old tyre on there and say, oh, that'll do, and just squeeze it over it. It's got to be the right fit for the right rim.